What happens when two artists, who are also both podcasters, decide to film a special crossover episode together? Welcome to this episode of I Love Your Stories. I'm your host, Hava Gurevich, and today I'm trying something a little different. I'm joined today by a very special guest, photographer, former nurse practitioner turned podcaster, Carmen Davailus, who has her own YouTube channel called The Art of a Meaningful Life. Join us for an insightful conversation about creativity, courage, and finding your voice at any age. We explore vulnerability in sharing art, the challenge of balancing creative work with entrepreneurship, and the belief that connection completes the creative expression. Carmen also shares an incredible full circle story from her decades in healthcare, one that will make you believe in serendipity and the long arc of gratitude. If you're craving inspiration, permission to speak, and the reminder that it's never too late to start, this conversation is for you. And for a little extra context, this was filmed on Halloween. So let's get into it. Now, quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get right back to the show. When I started selling my art, I had absolutely no idea how to actually turn it into a business, a professional business. And then I came across art storefronts, and that was a game changer. I've been a customer now for years, and they've been instrumental every step of the way of helping me succeed. I have a gorgeous, powerful commerce website. I have marketing tools and a membership to a community that is very supportive and teaches me how to succeed as an artist. Check them out, artstorefronts.com, and tell them Hala sent you. Hello, and welcome back to I Love Your Stories. I have a very, very special guest with me today, Carmen Davailus. And Carmen has her own podcast. It's on her YouTube channel, and it's called The Art of a Meaningful Life, right?
Yes.
Yes. And since we both have podcasts, we thought it would be really fun to do a little crossover episode where we'll see what happens.
We have something special planned for today, don't we, Hava?
Yes, we do.
Because today, if you haven't noticed, for those of you watching, it is Halloween. Because you don't normally have quite that hairstyle, do you, Hava?
This is my alter ego.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take this off because it's getting a little itchy.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we start by maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, when you got into art and what inspires you, and maybe a little bit about your channel, your YouTube channel as well.
Sure. So, yeah, I am a photographer and I love flowers. So, you see a lot of flowers in nature. Nature to me is the most healing, wonderful. I mean, that's put me in nature as my happy place. And
Mhm.
I am a late bloomer with art. I just started like 8 years ago. I transitioned from being in healthcare as a nurse practitioner like 40 years. And during that time, I'm like, I'm all about the stories. I thought I listened to people sometimes during some of the worst times of their lives, right? I mean, to be real, it's some of the worst times ever. And I thought how much I admired what they had gone through and how they handled it. And I was there as a witness and thinking if the world could hear these stories, it would be such a less petty and bitter place in general, right? We wouldn't be bickering about some of the things people bicker about and short tempered and things like that. And as I transitioned, I started a nonprofit first thing and it was all about telling the stories for families living through dementia. And I photographed them with their family pets and wrote a book because I am an overachiever and and then discovered on with photography, which had been my love since days of film. And I believe this podcast is a continuation of those stories, because I'm so curious to hear how other people find a way to live a meaningful life in spite of whatever is going on.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Thank you.
So is that your art behind you? I know you said you're a photographer. They kind of look like paintings.
Yeah. That's the biggest compliment you can pay because, my style is very painterly, and, I use lenses to give me that look, which I think is how I see the world. My dad used to say I saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Everything's just soft and beautiful, and that's kind of the way it is for me, and,
Mm.
um
We need more people like that in the world.
may
So,
maybe so, maybe so. So, Hava, listen, I am so curious to hear your story because I have been admiring your work
thank you.
over on Instagram. No kidding.
So I've been painting for the past 26 years, maybe a little longer. I started out pursuing art. I was an undergrad. I started in pre-med. Um, biology and psychology were probably like the two subjects I was willing to study in college. And my parents sort of really wanted, they're like, you're going to college and you're going to study something real so you can get a real job.
Mhm.
So,
I know that story.
yeah. Um, but I took a drawing class when I was in college, and it was the first time that I mean, I've always been sort of artistic and creative, and I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was young, and my mom said, like, absolutely not. So, um, yeah, right? That's why I love Halloween so much because it's the one time a year I get to, like, just really let my inner fashion designer out.
Ah,
Um, but I took a drawing class, and it was the first time in my life that I learned, like, I learned that you can learn to make art. Like, I learned that you can get better,
right.
that you can, learn technique and improve. And for the first time, I sort of like started to understand that art isn't just a pretty picture on a wall, that art is a form of expression and about the whole history of art.
Mhm.
And it just was, it opened up a whole new world for me. And I switched to the art school. I still love biology. I still love psychology, like living sciences, nature, animals, all of that. Um, and what's really wonderful about being an artist is that I get to make art about all the things that I love and all the things that I'm passionate about, and I can like study it. I can go as deep as I want to go
Uh-huh.
and then make art about it, but I don't have to like I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I don't have to like follow somebody else's guidelines. I have like creative freedom to take it in any direction I want. Like I can pick and choose from all the things that I love, including fashion design. Yeah.
We have so many things in common that I didn't even know. I should have taken notes here because that's how my memory is. So, about 3 years into being a nurse, now I had started out as a music major, I'll say that.
Mm.
So, I was creative in my own way and went to nursing school because I needed to support myself and make a living, and I liked it. I liked it. But first chance I had, I took a program for clothing design, a degree in clothing design. As a woman, as a girl back then, we had only so many choices like home ec or art, and I did enjoy, creating my own garments and, drawing and painting on fabric and doing things in home ec, but I wasn't one of the cool kids. I always thought I'm not one of the cool kids in the art program, and I really yearned to be over there. And so, for this degree, I needed to take drawing and color theory, which I realize I'm colorblind with the blues and the greens. I have trouble with tones big time. And, but drawing, so here I'm in this class with all the formerly cool kids, and I'm a little older, and I wasn't. Now I look back, I'm like, I really wasn't, only about 4 years, but it felt like a lot, and
It felt like a lot.
it felt like a lot, and they were just picking up their pencils and drawing, and I'm like at stick people level, I don't know anything about drawing, and The teachers that I had, though, they would give assignments and they would guide me through, and I think I studied and worked more for that class than I ever did in my nursing classes, and that says a lot because it's a tough program, right? I was always drawing because it's something I wanted to do. Every week we put our finished drawing up on the board, and we were critiqued, and it was like, I'm sweating. But, that's when I saw art is so subjective, and so, it is so subjective, and those of you, I mean, I'm sure you have done art shows and competitions, and
A little bit.
yeah, you just never know, because there's a judge, and
Yeah, I've been actually in the position of being on the other end of it. Like I did professional portfolio reviews for photo festivals, like the Houston Photo Festival, and a couple
Mm,
times in Manhattan. That one of the things that I decided is that I don't want to put myself through that
uh,
because I know how sensitive I am and how personally I take rejection. And so, you know, the couple of times that I participated in an art fair, just this, sitting there with all my art,
mhm,
and people walk by, and some just like my art is just too much for them, so they just they like walk by,
uh-huh,
and then some like will stop, and they don't know what to say really because they're like, "Wow, so much color,"
mhm, uh-huh,
and then they'll move on. I'm like, okay,
mm,
but it would affect me, like, to
mhm.
have that kind of response.
I wanna tap on that. One of the things about art photography for me that I hadn't stopped to think about until I was doing it, and I started out doing headshots and social media, pictures for entrepreneurs and things like that, and then as I started doing more landscape, flowers, and doing more local shows, and the level of vulnerability that it takes
Yeah.
huge to, number 1, hang your art and say, "This is my art." Or if I was photographing people, to I had a wall that I used to reveal, like the reveal wall, right? And they could come in and I had prints of them and their responses, and it's unpredictable because it's a lot about feeling, like what is our memories, our experiences, and how we feel about something, and it's so unique, and yet from the artist's point of view, it's like, "Do you like my babies?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you love my baby?"
Yeah.
And, like, "Why is her baby prettier to you than my," and, it is not that at all. It's just a matter of a calling, and when
Yeah,
people
and
see it and are moved, and I'm sure you've had this too. I've had people walk by and stop and cry because it touched them in such a way, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're my client, although I don't want you to cry every day, but, you're moved by it." As I get older, I find that this part of evolution for me. So the whole part of putting yourself out there, and I think art taught me that big lesson, bigger than anything else, and creating art, and the whole part about being creative is that vulnerable act and learning that that's part of human growth, and
but that's the hardest thing too. Like
yeah.
I'm saying, like
I never
I
said
can
that was easy, Hava.
yeah.
Say it's plan, do, and then review. And in that review, you decide whether that's for you or not. And that's not only do I look at the numbers, do I make money, and it's my gut feeling, like, did I really enjoy that? Did
Mhm.
that, back to the meaningful life, right? Did that bring joy to my life? Does it meaningful to me? And I belong to a few art groups, and we show our art, and it's small, and but I really enjoy the people I'm with, and it brings me joy to see what people are doing and how we're all growing. And I'm out there with other artists, which is a dream world for me after so many, I mean, to me, that's part of living the dream. And
There's a question that I love to ask my guests,
uh,
and that is, what are you most passionate about right now?
right now, oh, great question, Hava. I'll tell you. because this is the time of year I'm planning next year. So December will actually be the start of 2026 for me. I found that I spent many decades silencing myself, being small, or, some people say putting out my own light or what have you. I was pretty happy to kind of stay in the background and be quiet. And yet I had a lot of things to say and opinions. And for various reasons, I just did not. And each year I find it is more important for me to have a voice. I'm most passionate, I think, about, to answer your question, is using my voice, whether it be my voice through art or my voice through speaking or podcasts or other ways, to express the things that are important to me.
I love that.
hmm
I love that.
I would, if you would have said 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I would be doing anything like this. It'd be like, again, sweating bullets and maybe shaking a little bit and going, no, 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 I don't think so. And then there just came a time and like, enough is enough. Just like you, the courage to put yourself out. I'm like the courage to put myself out there. That was big, big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even spoke on a national stage this summer and in a
Wow.
speaking competition, which is just so far. And I signed up for it like this time last year to challenge myself.
I'm a really strong believer in following your passion. That's that's been part of my passion
Is it?
is
I was gonna ask you what is your big passion?
art is part of it, but more as a tool, as a vehicle.
Mhm.
In that, for the past year, been spending a lot of time thinking about how everything is connected and how I sort of like what I believe reality to be is what is reflected back to me.
Mhm.
And uh, and so if I wanna make a change in my life for the positive, I don't wait for the change to happen. I have to live as if the change already happened,
Yeah.
and then reality catches up because it's so subjective.
Yes.
And so I've been really passionate about, um, trying to live that every day. Some days I'm successful, other days, not so much, but,
Mhm.
I try to start each day with a little meditation.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of like, what is it that I want to manifest today in a
Yeah.
sense of like, what's my best life and how can I live through today? What actions can I take? Or and not just actions, it's also what like thinking and feeling, like
Absolutely.
emotions.
I love that.
How can I put myself in an emotional state that will be a representative of the life that I want to live? And I end each day with a little bit of a mental like checklist of all the things that I accomplished. Because sometimes, especially like, just feels overwhelming, and a lot of times, like I end my days with like doom scrolling, and so then I'm like, ah, shit, it's after midnight. I should go to bed. And like my first thought is like, man, I can't believe I wasted all this time.
Mhm.
And then I just try to stop myself and be like, no, you know, I did this and I finished that and I got all of this done. Like, it's like, wow, I've had a really productive day, And so I just try to like end the day on a note of like, I'm living the life that I want to live. And
Mhm.
um, the other thing is quite recently, a full-time artist, like I left my day job last year, and so it's been a full more than a year now, and it's taking a very long time to, like, recalibrate that work-life balance
Yeah.
because for so long, my art was my escape. It was my passion. It
Mhm.
was the thing that I would try to find time to do, and, that wasn't always successful, and sure, there were stresses about it, but
Mhm.
still, like, it didn't have I intentionally, like, wasn't trying to sell art. I wasn't looking at it as my vocation, so it was something like, if I got to do it, I'm happy. If I didn't get to do it, I'll get to do it later.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, I'm a business owner, and so I'm still working.
Yeah.
But now, like, I have to, like, spend time on Instagram,
Mhm.
like, looking at content, engaging with other creators, creating content, answering questions,
It's a job.
putting together it's a job, and sometimes, like, it's when you're your own when you're a business owner, everything you do, every time you go out and sit in a coffee shop and look out the window and like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, maybe I should try that." You're working. That's
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
And, and so sitting in like being in my studio and painting is not the only thing that counts as work.
Mhm.
Everything counts as
Right.
work. And
Right.
so when everything counts as work, it becomes like, well, when do I relax? I don't have an answer.
Uh, I want to say kudos for you for even recognizing that. And I've found myself in the very same place. And I thought, here I'm all about creativity. And my master's thesis was spirituality and health, which included creativity and a lot of the things you're talking about. How do you spend your day? How do you take breaks from things? And to fill your cup, to nurture your spirit, and things we often take for granted and don't do. It's like last on the list. And so, as an entrepreneur, we're kind of on this hamster wheel all the time because, as a solopreneur, especially, it is just you, right? And we're great bosses sometimes. Sometimes my boss overworks me a lot. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
way overwork and dire to be successful and to find a way. And we're actually paving ground that hasn't really been driven before in
Right.
the way that we are now, and with
Yeah.
the resources that we have and how to use those. And
Mhm.
so I recognize this in myself, and I had to really stop and go, here I am, supposedly this expert on taking care of myself and spirituality and creativity, and I'm not even taking time out to make sure I'm breathing deep 3 or
Yeah.
4 breaths a day,
Yeah.
or to do the like you're talking about, the journaling. And I started talking to other entrepreneurs, and I found that, like, we were all in the same boat. And
Mhm.
that constant run and struggle. And first of all, I was curious if people thought, not if they thought they were creative. That's an interesting thing because a lot of
Yeah.
people do not. And yet every entrepreneur is creative, right? And
Mhm.
then so I created this quiz about creativity, and it's really what kind of creative you are. So there's like
Oh,
4 different kinds based to, make it simple. And, some of us have a lot of ideas really fast, and other of us are more curious and kind of, well,
how can someone find that quiz?
oh, I'll put the link in. I'll put the link in. It is live
Okay.
now. And I did a
Okay,
test
great.
group. Yeah, I did a test group and I invited entrepreneurs in and people I knew. And I said, I just need your input and I need you to be honest. And we all took it. And
Yeah.
the comments of people, similar to what you're saying, Hava, although many of us don't even do like a minimal of
Mm.
peak what we need to peak our creativity to be the best at being an entrepreneur, which
Yeah.
is what you're talking about. We're not even talking about being the best artist possible. We're like the best entrepreneur. You have to take the efforts to peak your creativity. And so, yeah, I'm starting a small group of entrepreneurs all
That's
around,
really great.
all around
Yeah.
taking care of those parts of our needs. And
One of the things that I really love to do is kind of like a mental exercise. Like sometimes it's a situation of you do something and then afterwards you're like, well, that was a waste of my time.
Mhm.
Other times something happens, like whether you feel like you had control over it or not, but it didn't go the way you wanted, and like those kinds of disappointments. And they happen throughout your life.
Right.
Um, but what's really, really fun is to see where you are now. And as you look at your successes, as you look at your passions, as you look at the paths that you are choosing to take, and and then like connect the dots back to something that maybe happened like 30, 40 years ago, or maybe like just like yesterday, that you're like, wow, if I didn't go through that, positive or negative,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be where I am now, so it's and I try to do that as much as I can because it really helps when something goes south in the present.
Yeah.
And, so like, I'm like, oh, shit. But then right after that, sort of consciously think about like, I wonder what thing in the future, what like positive, win in the future or direction in the future that I'm going to take. And I'm going to look back and say, like, oh, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for this shitty
You
situation
got
that
that.
I'm in right now.
You got that right. Last summer, I started from my son is 38, and I thought there's so much about, and he had a head injury, so a lot of earlier life he doesn't remember. And I thought, I'm going to put these photos together and I'm going to do a voiceover and explain to him, to talk to him about what was happening because I want him and my grandkids to have that. And I'm the historian in the family right now for him. And as I started going through it, I realized I'm like, oh man, yeah, that exactly what you're saying, Hava. And like if that hadn't have happened,
Yeah.
then and now and how it relates. And
Yeah. So, okay. So this is actually, it's one of the sort of thread themes through my podcasts is these kinds of like pivotal moments or transformations that began possibly as as some kind of something negative and but uh ultimately brought you to where you are now. um is there can you share an example?
oh yeah, I have one that comes to mind. So when I was working on this photo project for my son, I came across photos from when I was a neonatal nurse in so 40 years ago. And there was a family that were my very first primary care and a preemie baby, like 2 pounds. And, so back in early 80s, we didn't have all that we have now. And I was going through a very difficult time with my own losses, and I'm trying to save other babies. And they were my very first primary patient. And but the thing about the story is that this family, they had their trials and tribulations, and the mom was like 19, and dad, I think maybe 22, 23, it's just a tad bit younger than me. They really just showed me what love could look like.
Mm.
And we had lost contact once the baby did fine, and at least at that point, and I had lost contact and went on with life, and all the time, though, 40 years, I was thinking, I never thanked them. I don't think I ever thanked them. I don't think they ever knew what they meant to me, and my thought was they probably won't even remember me, I mean, life goes on, it's 40 years, and, um, I had in the past looked for them, with that one big regret. I'd never really thanked them or told them, and last year, I just happened to find that 40-year-old baby started his own business, and he was on LinkedIn, and I'm not positive it was him. They have a very common name, and I went back and I'm curious, right? I follow the trail, and from LinkedIn, I found a page on Facebook I thought might be his, and somebody had written a post on December 2nd, "Happy birthday, bro." And I'm like, that's his birthday. That has to be him. And then I found their business website, and I'm looking for a phone number. And I think it's a real estate. I think one of the realtors looked like his dad and had the same name. And I thought, okay, I'm going to call. And I'm like, palms are sweaty. I'm like, what am I going to say? You might remember me from 40 years ago. And, but I just had to say thank you. And I got voicemail. So, I'm not kidding. I needed my magic wand, because it was the wackiest voice message I've ever left because I didn't exactly know what to say and I wasn't planning it, and, but I did my best, and I hung up and I thought, "Well, I have to let that go. I doubt they're gonna call." And I'm not even sure it's them, right? And about 10 minutes later, my phone rang, and it was not only did they remember me, but it's like every Christmas we say a prayer for you wherever you are. You meant so much to us, and
Oh my God.
yeah, and I'm like, I had no idea. You just have no idea how you're gonna touch
Yeah.
hearts. That's what
Yeah.
that came back to me to say, I never thought they would remember me, but not only they remember me, I was a part of their story,
Yeah.
Fava, and we ended up having, a lot of crying, a lot of with the mom, and we were friends, and we're in contact, and this was the story I got on stage with last August for that competition, and they flew in from Las Vegas to Dallas for the day to hear me tell our story. So talking about full circle, right? And, I'm tracking along pretty good. I got 3 minutes to get this, and the time is clicking, and I'm, like, doing my best, and it's a competition, so you know how that is, and I look out there, and for the first time in 40 years, I see them in the audience, and the mom is crying and pointing at him, telling the people around them that he's the baby that I'm talking about. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and so at that point, it was like my heart chakra just exploded, right? And my brain straight lined. And it felt like a minute, but I'm told it was just a few seconds. I haven't been able to watch it. I have the video of it now. But talking about full circle. So the lesson, that you just never know who you're gonna touch or how.
Yeah.
And years can turn into what feel like minutes
Yeah.
when someone touches your heart.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to say thank you or what you mean to somebody. My brain straight line because I knew I was in the moment, that pivotal moment of this is a miracle in my life right now.
Mhm.
That's like a moment I'm never going to forget.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So that was a long answer to a short question.
No, it was a perfect answer, and, I was gonna give an example as well, but I cannot follow. There's no way I'm going to follow something trivial after that. Uh,
Oh, oh.
Instead, I'm gonna ask another question that I like to ask all my guests. What is your definition of success right now, and how has it changed over time?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a recovering overachiever. So success usually came in wrapped up in the box of what I'm able to achieve.
Mm.
Success to me now would be um, the things I'm striving for, what we just talked for, the finding meaning in life and living a good life and how the impact that I carry and taking the time to feel to receive. Right? Because if you're an overachiever and you're putting stuff out there, and in fact, even when we thinking we're on that hamster wheel, right? We're not allowing ourselves to be quiet enough to receive. Can I ask you that one?
I've been trying to I like to say that when I was younger, there was a lot of separation between the different parts of my life, so there was a part of my life where I'm the artist, another one where, I whatever, career I had, and then as a partner to someone and as a daughter to someone, and, as a friend to someone, I was all these different things, and they had some overlap, but they were like different people. And one of the things that I've been discovering through my own art and through my own sort of like spiritual journey is that everything is connected. It's all the same thing.
Mhm.
And I can say that about art. Like one of the themes in my art is this idea of like repeating patterns, fractal patterns, and that the same kind of patterns. And through my art, I show these patterns visually, but they're not always visual patterns. These patterns are patterns that occur on all kinds of planes. So you can talk about a pattern, a similar pattern of like evolution or regeneration or you know um metamorphosis. Like these are patterns, and you can see those patterns in the life of a butterfly, for example. You can see those patterns in weather systems. You can see those patterns in communities. You can see those patterns in like a person's development, a person's life. Uh, you can see that pattern in our constellation. Like it's the
Everywhere.
pattern is a pattern, and and everything works in the same way. There's connections and everything. And so, especially if I'm making art, and I'm I don't have I don't have an idea ahead of time of what it is that I'm going to paint.
Mhm,
I just I just react to what I'm doing,
mhm,
and um but at some point, whether it's just a simple flower or a more complex and uh psychedelic or abstract pattern, whatever it is, at some point my brain kind of like clicks onto that pattern, and I'm seeing all these connections. And when I see those connections, I mean, that's just like this magical, transformative moments, and they're like
mhm,
micro moments, right? They don't last long in like, but just like you were saying, like they do. For me, they're like time stops, and I'm in this space where everything comes together, and a lot of times, like I might have been having like some issue with family member, or like just some stress or anxiety over some business interaction, or world events, whatever it is. Suddenly I'm able to put that into some kind of perspective through the art that I'm making, and in having that kind of realization that um, everything that happens and kind of comes through me is interconnected. Um, and I'm so grateful that I have that creative outlet to be able to process all that is happening, and to be able to then look at it and gain knowledge, or gain some kind of understanding
mhm,
through that. I'll share, sometimes it's in progress or it's finished, and people, not always, some will just say, "Oh, I love the colors," and that's fine too, because I love color.
mhm,
But every once in a while, somebody will make a comment that like tells me that they really got that they really got what I was doing. That level of communication, it's like one soul communicating with another soul
mhm,
through, in my case, a visual language.
mhm,
Um, for other people it might be through music or something else. But when that happens, when that kind of connection happens, for me, that feels like the ultimate success. On a less lofty plane,
mhm,
success is just, being able to have the freedom, the time, the space, the resources to make art
mhm, mhm.
makes me feel successful. Selling is always nice too, but
Yeah, we do need to
that's the
eat.
cherry on top.
Yeah, well, we do need to eat and have a roof over our heads, but
Yeah.
so so what I'm hearing is, like, we create art for ourselves, for what it gives us. We
Mhm.
create art for others who can feel something themselves, and then for even bigger beyond that is we create art to connect
Yes.
ourselves with others, and then beyond that, with the world at large,
Yeah.
and
And I wanna add something to that, because, like, like, my partner, my boyfriend, um, he his biggest passion is music.
Mm,
And the way, when, we'll be listening to something together, he always has to have music on,
mhm,
and it brings out emotion in him, and the way he discusses listening to music is just on another level.
Mhm.
Um, and then I have this other friend who is she loves looking at art. She loves going to see concerts. She needs to be surrounded with art. And so the three of us were having a conversation about creativity and specifically about how do you express your creativity?
Mhm.
Because we're all creative. Creativity is part of human nature.
Yes.
And expressing that creativity is is like a human need. I mean, it's right up there next to like food, shelter, because in a way they were sort of saying like, oh, they haven't yet found their creative expression, like,
Mm.
you know, and I said, for one thing, when when you speak, like, that if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it make a sound or something like that? Like it's
Right.
true. Like on a quantum level, a particle needs to be observed,
Mhm.
become a particle, right?
The
So if
connection.
yeah, so
Mhm.
if I am expressing something into the vacuum and no one hears it, no one sees it, no one it not doesn't resonate with anyone.
Mhm.
I mean, yes, it's ob- there is something there, but the full connection, the full feeling of accomplishment or the full feeling of like success is that there is somebody that receives it and it resonates with them, and that completes that expression.
Right.
And like I love making art, but
Uh-huh.
I don't go out of my way to go to museums and galleries just to look at art unless I'm looking to be inspired for my own art. And I realized that, like, for some people, being a consumer of art is their way of expressing creativity.
Oh, yeah. I think it's part of like, for people who love to have art around, but it's not theirs, they're surrounding themselves with that which inspires them. Just
Exactly.
like we might walk out in nature versus
Yeah.
go to a museum.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
yeah, so and I think that is like a big realization because it also means if you have a story to tell, there is somebody out there that needs to hear that story.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and it sometimes can take 40 years for that story to complete its cycle.
Mhm. To be right,
Um,
right?
and to really get a sense of how meaningful it was, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And you need to know how it was received. That's what completes the cycle.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was feeling that day, right, on stage when my it was like a monumental moment, and I knew it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm stand and to be aware of it is something. Um, I know this got a little deep today, and I gotta tell you, I really loved it.
I loved it too.
I love talking about that. That just
I'm really glad you reached out to do this.
thank you. Oh, me too. Such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure.
Likewise.
I'm going to thank all of our guests for listening, and we will see you soon. And I would love to hear some comments.
Thanks again for tuning in. That's our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please help us out by leaving a review, a comment, subscribing, sharing it with your friends. Every little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. And before we go, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor and producer, Art Storefronts. If you've been thinking about turning your art into a real business or just want to level up your online presence, now is honestly the best time, especially with the holiday selling season coming up in Q4. I can't stress this enough. Art Storefronts isn't just a website builder. They're a full-blown partner for your art business. They give you the tools, education, and marketing support to actually make sales, not just sit online and hope. And if you're unsure whether your art will sell, no worries. Just head to artstorefronts.com and sign up for a demo. They'll give you a free art review and a marketing assessment of your art to show you exactly what's possible. So go to artstorefronts.com, tell them Hava sent you, and I'll catch you on the next episode.